Good evening and welcome to yet another episode of Better Than Before, where I talk about mindful communication. And today I'd like to talk about an interesting example of communication going wrong in my own household. Um, and I think the interesting thing about it is not so much the particular communication that went wrong, but how well it illustrates how what happens in a conversation, what happens during communication when we look at the words or when we listen to the words produces such confusion so often. Um, in this example, I had written something in a post in English on Facebook that was then translated into Spanish on my wife's Facebook, so that she was reading a translation, a Facebook translation of what I had written. Um, and the fact that Facebook can translate stuff at all is really kind of amazing. I don't want to belittle the accomplishments of online and on-demand translation. It's kind of amazing, but in this case, they missed it. The computerized translation did not accurately reflect what I had written, and so my wife reacted to the translation, which was not correct, and then her reaction was driven by this confusing piece of information. What I had said and the message that she got were very different. And then her reaction, which was very strong and negative, was to that incorrect message. How often does this happen to us? We're in conversation and we say something and we're comfortable that the intent of our words is, first of all, clear, that anyone hearing what he said would understand it. And the second thing is that we feel that the words reflect our intent, that what we have said, aside from being clear to anyone who might hear it, also accurately reflects what we have in our mind, that this word cloud somehow represents what is really going on inside of our minds as we attempt to pass that information to another person. The word cloud that we produce may not be a good one. It may not accurately reflect what is happening inside of our heads. Then the other person gets their hands on it or gets their ears around it and has it go in. And what they hear, it might come across like a foreign language, literally like a foreign language, like the English to Spanish example I gave before, that the way the other person uses these words or the way the other person has used this phrase or a similar phrase in the past reflects a very different mental state from the one we thought we were representing when we started talking. And then, more often than not, we as the listener react to what we think we've heard, what we believe is the statement that we've heard. And this is a big problem. When we practice mindful communication, there's an emphasis on understanding. So we receive the word cloud, and there's we basically assume that there are elements in this that we may not understand. So, we check for understanding in various ways. One possibility is repeating back as nearly as we can what we've heard. Did you just say, and repeat back what we've heard to check if that's what the speaker thinks he or she has said. The other thing we can do is paraphrase. When you said what you just said, did you mean this? And we can then compress and refine and show the speaker what we now have in our heads as a result, before we start reacting, before things get out of hand, before we get all emotional. It's good to check for understanding, especially if there's a triggering element to what has been said. If we feel that, oh boy, here it comes, the surge of adrenaline, the rush of emotion. If we feel that, it's very important to, one, recognize it. I refer to that as step 0. Recognize that you're having an emotional reaction. And 2, check to make sure that you've understood correctly the phrase that seems to be so upsetting. I'm going to leave this episode here. I try not to go long in these nightly broadcasts. I thank you for tuning in. But yes, as we go through our evening and tomorrow and onward, let's try to remember that what we think we hear could be very far from what the speaker was trying to express. It's always good to check and make sure. Talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. See you later. Bye.